Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have the fantastic, the wonderful, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Bobby White with us. Thank you for joining us, Bobby.
Thanks for having me. Hello, cowbell.
Woo, spring break. Um, Bobby, first and foremost, what have you been up to in these times?
Oh man, what? This guy you may or may not know has a good old helping of ADHD, and so my brain has been kind of going crazy over the last 9 months, which has in some ways been a fantastic thing. I've gotten a lot of projects started, and of course the ADD problem is finishing those projects. But by God, I will finish them. So some of the projects that I've started is researching the Harvest Moon Ball, especially putting all of its footage together in the specific. So the Harvest Moon Ball, there's a whole bunch of newsreels out there on YouTube, and they don't really say what years they are, a lot of them, and they're just kind of haphazard all over the place. And even then, they split them up and cut them up into editing weird ways. And so I've been taking those newsreels and putting them into their correct years, and then splitting those up and putting them all together in their right heats, and then putting those dancers together so that it kind of tells the actual story of the Harvest Moon Ball. And then going and researching all the newspaper archives on the Harvest Moon Ball, because there's a lot of those articles that are in those. It was run by a newspaper, and that newspaper has lots of articles on the contest. And so I've been going through those articles and kind of putting together the story of the Harvest Moon Balls, and that's kind of a huge ass project, as you can imagine. So I've been doing that, but that's not enough just to do that incredibly long and thorough process. I've also been started a podcast with my great friend Chisomo Salamani on the Black experience in swing dancing. And I've also been working on other swung over history projects and trying to continue to train my dancing, even in the pandemic. And on top of that, I've been working on my novel.
So you got a couple things.
Follow-up questions. Things in the fire. Yeah. Two things in the fire. Yeah.
Follow-up questions on those. For the Harvest Moon Ball, are you a lot of people know that you have swung over. You have your swung over, and where can people go to find swung over?
They can go to swungover.com. So swungover.com will take you to swung over, and there's a contents there. However, if you have a specific question, in all honesty, if you just Google swung over and then that name of the dancer or that part of dance history or something, if there's something written, Google tends to pull it up pretty well. So if you're like, I wonder what Bobby's written about Maxie Dorf, you can just type in swung over Maxie Dorf, and that should pull up a few articles, that kind of thing.
Is your Harvest Moon Ball research going to live there, or are you going to put that somewhere else?
It's going to live there mostly, although I think by the end of it, I will have enough for a book. And so I'll probably do a self-published book on the Harvest Moon Ball that's kind of putting all those essays together in a little bit more of a cohesive, like tightly knit package. And nice. So, yeah, that'll be kind of fun.
So then you'll, once you get the novel going, you'll then have like 3 books out there. You'll be published as a swing dance instructor as well as a writer. It's fine.
All the work ahead of me.
Yeah,
I see it in my future. All the hard work.
It's okay. I'm older than you, and the future is great.
And talk about a niche of a niche of a niche book, like an in-depth book on the Harvest Moon Ball Lindy Hop dancing.
Hey, we love it, so that's the important thing, is that if that information never gets written, then it gets lost. So also, let's talk a little bit about integrated rhythm and what you've been doing with that.
Awesome. Yeah. So Chisomo Salamani is an amazing person and dancer, and she does a whole lot of social justice work on her off time. And so we've become really close over the last few years, and our phone conversations are basically, we would call each other up and talk for hours and hours and hours, just because we had so many great conversations. And we decided, wait a second, a lot of these conversations might be perfect if we just kind of included the swing scene in on them, because they might be interested in them. And so we started formulating the idea of doing a podcast. And then we were like, well, we have all these wonderful people in the scene who we can have conversations with. And so it's Chisomo and I is interviews a lot of people, or has conversation. We like to think of it more as has conversations with. Our whole goal is comfortable conversations about uncomfortable things. And so our goal is to have like a really kind of laid back, fun conversation about some of these really important topics, just to make talking about them a little bit easier and to make you feel less burned out by just like dealing with all the intense emotions involved with them. And so we're having conversations about the Black experience and about race in not only swing dancing, but it actually has ended up covering a range of topics. So like academia. So like we in the swing scene have a lot of our educational pedagogy based in European academia, in the way that things tend to be broken down or taught in Eurocentric cultures. And so that's an interesting thing that we as the scene can think about and like get new information about in order to help change the way that we teach for the better, that kind of thing. So like we just have a lot of conversations with a lot of people.
Awesome. So you've also done, where can people find that, by the way?
Oh, they can find that hopefully wherever you get your podcast. It's on most major podcasts. It's not on all of them, but it's on most major podcast hosts. Or you can just type Google Integrated Rhythm and it will take you to our host Anchor site where you can watch it, or you can listen to it. Or if you just want to watch the episodes, most of them we have the visual of our Zoom conversations as well. And so you can go to YouTube and also not only listen to them, but also watch those conversations.
Awesome. I love how some of the answers are like, dude, Google it.
It's so weird. Like that's my major way of finding a lot of things. It's just Googling it.
You just curate it there. So let's shift gears for a second. You've also done a lot of research, otherwise, but you've also done some research for PSDF. And more recently, you went out and interviewed and hung out with Roy Damron.
Yes, one of the greatest experiences in my dancing, especially the historical research dancing life.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I know it was unique.
Man. So, it was my first time in Hawaii too. So I land in Hawaii, this tropical paradise, and get off a plane and get on an Uber and go to a suburb in the middle of nowhere in Hawaii. And there's this, 96, 97-year-old man at the time in a sarong, because he was a nudist and he prefers to just, wear like a sarong or something around the house. And like the Hawaiian breeze is outside blowing through his house that he had helped build himself. It's blowing over the homemade dance floor that he had outside next to the pool where he taught scuba diving, because he was a scuba diving instructor. And so I just get to sit and talk with this amazing man about his 9 decades of life in this world, and see how much passion he had for swing dancing and how much joy he had for it. And it reinforced a lot of things that I've talked with like you about, where Nick has talked to a lot of the old timers more so than I have. I'm kind of a secondhand, get my information from people like Nick. And when I talked to Roy, it reinforced a lot of the things that a lot of the wisdom passed down from people like Nick and Sylvia, where it's not about the steps. It's he has a few names for some of the steps. He has kind of a vague recollection of dancing stuff. He doesn't put them into compartmentalized boxes like my brain sometimes wants to do. He doesn't he remembers the spirit of the time. He remembers like going out with hopping in his friend's jalopy and driving all over Southern California trying to find the place where the good band is. And once there, getting out and dancing. And he remembers his mom making his shirts out of curtains, right? So like these really flowery, colorful curtains. His mom would take those curtains and make shirts out of them. Well, curtains weren't made to be sweated in, and so at the end of a few nights of dancing, he would be coated in dye from the colorful curtains, and then like he'd have to get a new shirt made, and you know, all these great stories about being a young adventurous kid, you know, growing up with this great swing music around him.
That is awesome. I'm very jealous of both Hawaii and your time with Lord Damron, but I'm glad all of that was well documented.
Yeah, it was amazing. We ended up doing about 9 hours of interview, and you know, like 5 hours of it is really, you know, is the solid like questions of, and then the other hours is kind of like hanging out, and we did him watching video. He kind of played his video scenes that he was in, and he would
Mhm.
pause it and point out himself on screen, because he would do a lot of, you know, dancing in the golden age of Hollywood musicals. So after swing dancing, he went and did. He used his GI Bill in order to learn all the dances that you would use in your Hollywood movies, and so he became friends with uh, uh, Gene Kelly. Gene Kelly. Sorry, my brain just flipped and did a few different names. Gene Kelly, the Gene Kelly. He became really good friends with Gene Kelly, and Gene Kelly would make fun of his teeth that were so bright. He'd say, "You need to turn those down when I'm in the room," that kind of thing. Like,
That is awesome. So you've been switching gears again. You've been a dancer and a teacher in Balboa, Lindy, and swing world for a long time. Are there any fun or interesting stories? Final question. You're for Cowbell Live. You're wearing several hats for the upcoming Cowbell Live, but is there something in particular that you're looking forward to with this upcoming event?
I am so looking forward to being back together with y'all out there in the community. My Yeah, getting to see your faces, getting to interact, see, even seeing you on the chat, or just knowing that y'all are out there and we're all at least like coming together for this weekend, even if we can't be there in person. I think the spirit of everyone coming together is by far what I'm looking forward to the most.
Awesome. And for those of you that don't know, like Bobby is not only Bobby is host, teacher, creating different segments for the yeah, he's doing a lot of things. But yes, but from what he's saying now, it would be great if you all could not only tune in but like show up to the Zoom rooms and stuff and
They're a
show your
lot of
face
fun.
so Bobby can enjoy it. Thank you very much, Bobby White, for joining us in this Meet the Instructors and for being part of the event for so many years.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Woohoo! Cowbell!